So the trailer behind me is the trailer I use to haul my four-wheelers in. I have a Can-Am 1000 and a Can-Am 500L. Both weigh quite a bit. They're hunting style four-wheelers. Mine weighs about 800 pounds and my wife's is about 750. This is supposed to be rated for 7,000 pounds. The axles are rated for that much. However, the plywood deck, turns out it's not rated for that much. Well, it might be rated for that much, but the way that I load the four-wheelers in, it caused some damage. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring you guys closer to what that damage is. When I load my four-wheelers into this trailer, the first one goes in, it goes almost all the way to the front wall, and it stops somewhere about here, almost halfway back. And the next one comes in behind it, and the front wheels of the second four-wheeler sit on top of a piece of plywood that runs this direction in the floor. This has sort of caused a problem because there's no structural support underneath the floor in this area. Welds and structural support in. But I'm going to show you what has happened to cause this problem. I'm going to use my level here, and I'm going to go ahead and put this down here, and you can see that this plywood is dipped, and you can actually, I mean, it's on the structural support here and on a structural support back here, but you can see my hand underneath the level. When a 1,000-pound or 800-pound four-wheeler is sitting on here with the front wheels, and it's tied down, so it's pulling down even harder, and you're going down the freeway or over down a bumpy road, and it's bouncing up and down in here. You can imagine how hard it's pushing down on this floor, and it actually has caused the seam between this front and back piece of plywood to separate. This is the tie down that I use primarily to hold the four-wheelers down, and it's actually almost tore out of the floor because it's screwed through those two pieces of plywood, which caused it to get loose. Built some structural members in that run forward to aft, and those will be right underneath where the four-wheeler tires line up at, which should alleviate this problem. You can see these wooden blocks on the ground behind me. This is a bunch of cedar I had laying around and I cut up, like you saw. And I've got them laid in here with ramps. My plan is to back the trailer in here up the ramps and have the wheels sit on top of these pieces of cedar, which gives me an extra 8 inches off the ground, and it makes it easier for me to work underneath the trailer. I'm going to jack up the front, which is going to level it out, and then I'm going to put some chocks in the wheels. I am underneath of my trailer, getting ready to remove the paint on the areas that I'm going to weld those supports in. You can see I've got my grinding hood on here. I've taken my tinting lens out of it, and it just has the face shield part in it now so that I can get it closed and keep all this debris that I'm going to be grinding on off of my face as much as possible. And go from there, right? So I've got my grinder down here with my flap wheel, and you can see these white marks that I have laid out. So that 2x2 square stock will get welded right in here from here to back here. So I'm going to go ahead and grind this one out, and then I'll speed you guys up while I finish up the rest. So let me get started on that one. Well, a couple of things. The paint that is painted underneath of here is really, it's almost like a high solids paint. I guess it's road grade, right? You want to protect this stuff. But it's pretty difficult to get off. I'm loading up this flapper wheel pretty good. Well, it's Friday after work on a beautiful day in May. I believe it's May 19th. And I'm going up to work on the trailer. What I just took out of my truck are some grinding flap discs. These are the Flex Steel Take Home a Mustang GT. That's not what they are, but apparently they're having a Mustang giveaway. This is the Flex Steel, buy a 10-pack,
and get a chance to win Walter, W-A-L-T-E-R. These are trimmable flap discs, right? I'll open one up and put one on the grinder when I get up to the garage, but I'm gonna go ahead and open up the garage doors with my smartphone, which is a pretty convenient feature. So you can see my smartphone. Whoop, there's my app, and there's my garage doors opening. That's pretty cool. Chamberlain, love it. You can close and open them from anywhere in the world. Anyway, so this is a continuation of the video for working on the trailer, adding structural steel underneath to support the plywood better, to not have as many issues with loading and unloading the four-wheelers. Not that I was having major issues, but I was having some issues. So we'll get the garage lights turned on here, and whoop, there's the trailer. And there's my grinding wheels. Whoo, that's exciting stuff. And my grinder. I'm gonna put you guys on the tripod. That's fun. Oh man, I need to get a selfie stick or something. Oh boy. Okay. So, what do we got? We have the wheels I just grabbed out of my truck. I ordered them on Amazon at the same time I ordered this grinder. These I saw a review on Chucky2009's YouTube channel, and I literally went and ordered them as soon as I got done watching his video. So thank you for that. These are trimmable flap wheels, right? So I've got a flap wheel on the grinder under my trailer, which I'm not gonna get out, which is not trimmable. And I bet you I have one right here. Yes, I do. So this is a Warrior flap disc, 60 grit, 4.5 inch, and it is a non-trimmable flap disc. And that trimmable means you can remove this back, I'll call it backer material, by running the grinder and pushing this against a piece of metal, or like a vice corner or a piece of steel you have clamped in a vise would be probably the best situation. Anyway, that's what these are for. They come with instructions, which we all know what to do with instructions. And they are kind of packaged, kind of nice actually. Looks to me like I'll be able to pull them out of there maybe one at a time. That's kind of neat. Not make a mess and have these just flopping all over the place. I usually keep all my other ones in a box. This backer material on these Eco Trim, it even says right on the back, Eco Trim. You can trim to the black line, which gives you, I suspect, I bet you these are 30%, maybe even 50% longer life. I'm excited. I haven't ever used a higher end flap disc like this, but we're gonna give it a whirl. We're gonna give it a whirl and see what we think today. And let me bring this up close. Get my camera to focus, maybe. Anyway, Flex Steel. Looking for a model number. Oh, looks like this is the model number EN13743. This is their kind of universal grinder disc. And on the side here, these little arrows right here tell you can trim down to the middle of this black line versus the outside. So you can trim a huge amount off, which will give you almost the entire life of this sandpaper flap material, right? So this gets worn down, and everybody knows when you use a grinder, you're using this outside edge mostly, and it wears off first, and you have this big material built up in here. Well, if you trim this backside, that gives you more edge to use. So I'm gonna try these babies out, and hopefully I like them. They weren't too expensive. I wanna say it was $30-ish for 10, so $310 or something like that a piece. And today we're actually going to be welding the steel structure, the 2x2. Let me show you what that looks like. So I've got a stack of 2x2 square stock, pre-cut to length right here. So this stuff, pre-cut to length, is going to get welded up underneath of my trailer where the four-wheeler tires track, I'll call it, along the inside of the trailer. Should stop the plywood from flexing. At least that's my hope. The issue I'm gonna struggle with, I suspect, is that this is pretty thick stuff. This is 1/8 inch, maybe even thicker. And I bought this stuff before I looked under the trailer, which was a bad mistake on my behalf. I'm welding this to some really thin material. All right, so I've got my welding going here, an old one too, but so this is a Lincoln Electric Power MIG 140C. And I've had this thing since I was, 19 or 20. I'm 31 now, so 10 years at least. I welded quite a bit of stuff with this. Been really happy with this machine. It is only a 110 volt, but it takes the bigger spools, which I have in there, right, steel. I have the aluminum spool gun for this thing, but because it's a 110 volt, it doesn't do it all that well. Pretty convenient machine to use though. I like it a lot, I use it quite a bit. It has the inexpensive style spool gun, the inexpensive style gun, which all these parts you can buy at Harbor Freight, the nozzles and the tips and stuff, which I find works just fine for my application. I do run C25 gas with it, with the regulator that came with it. The C25 bottles last me about a year with the amount of welding I do, which that's all relative to how much you weld. It lasts quite a long time though, I suspect, for any kind of home or hobbyist. I did upgrade my ground clamp. I upgraded to this thing was quite expensive actually. This is a mag switch ground clamp, so you turn this little switch and it disengages the magnet, or you turn it on and it engages the magnet. I also put an eye bolt on here, so if I need to attach this to something, I can clamp a jumper or something. Anyway, that's for different type of materials, but I'll show you that some other video. Been pretty handy. I like that mag switch quite a bit. It's going to come in real handy under the trailer because I only have really flat surfaces to ground to. I don't have a good place to clamp. Settings on this, right, on, off, wire feed, and volts. For under the trailer, I'm going to be pretty hot, I suspect, so I'm going to put it on. It does the volts in letters, which is A through J. So I figure H is about 75% of what it's capable of. And since I'm going kind of thick to thin, I'm going to set it on a wire speed of 2, which is just in my experience where it runs well on steel, roughly. I'm going to do a couple test pieces to get it dialed in real quick before I start rolling into the trailer though. Well, as you guys can see, I'm back under the trailer, and we've got these couple pieces of 2x2 square stock that are going to get welded up in here, like so. You can see I've already ground the paint off on both sides of this side and of this side. I've got another piece of 2x2 square stock here, which will get welded on this side. And inside of the trailer, this area where I'm welding is where the wheels on my four-wheelers go at, to stop the plywood from flexing and pulling apart at the seams. So I've got my welding machine turned on, and I think we are about ready to get these things tacked in place. So let's get started. I don't know if you guys caught that or not. That was a hot piece of slag, or a weld blob, whatever you want to call it, and it landed right next to my head. I mean, I felt that thing hit. Melt a little hole in my cart here. So you guys can probably imagine that it's kind of difficult sometimes because I'm welding right up against the bottom of plywood. This black stuff is just painted plywood. And my welds are getting right, I mean literally up against the wood. So we're getting a lot of smoke down here. It is the wood burning and maybe a little bit of the leftover paint that I could have ground off a little better, but I did get most of it off. I'm finding that running uphill is actually the best, even though the position doesn't allow me to do it every single time. I found that I got 2 really good uphill welds here and a pretty good one here. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill the bottom of this one, and this will be done. And I'll fill the side of this one, and it will be done. And I'll come back over here and do some touch up. I got some blow through on these 2 here. I am gonna go ahead and tack the next 2 in while I'm waiting for these to cool down a little bit. The metal's getting too hot, and it's really not doing what I want it to do. One of the things I'm really struggling with is keeping the gun angle correct. I mean, I realize you can make this work almost at any angle, but the ideal angle and keeping the nozzle at the correct length from the weld piece to get the right gas coverage, it's proven to be challenging at best. I'm getting 50-50 on weld quality, I'll call it. I wouldn't say integrity is compromised, but they don't look as nice as I would normally like them to look 50% of the time. Well, I got the welding done, or at least as good as I'm going to get it. I'm going to take you guys on a little ride underneath the trailer on the cart here, and I'll get you a couple of close-ups of some of the welds. Maybe I'll show you a bad one or two, and maybe a good one or two. We'll see. Here we go. Back here. So the welds aren't terrible. That's not a too bad right there. I need to wire brush that off, obviously, but the bottom ones were a little harder to do because they're obviously upside down, and in some cases with the axles in the way, really hard to get to. But you've got ones like this, which aren't quite as bad. They're not great, obviously, and I've seen much better, and I can do much better, but position-wise, they're pretty challenging for me at least. Let's roll you guys back over here where the... Have another example. So that might have been a little lack of gas coverage there. I probably had the nozzle too far away. There's a bit of spatter and some charring, but I feel like I got pretty good penetration. It seemed like it was wetting in really nice. So there's 8 of these cross members total, and they line up directly underneath where my 4-wheeler tires of my 4-wheeler will go. It should stop the bowing of this plywood, right? This plywood here was bowing down when the 4-wheelers came into the trailer. This reinforcement is directly under the 2 axles, and these are 7,000 pound axles. Oh, excuse me, 3,500 pound axles for a total of 7,000 pounds. All I need to do down here now is throw some plastic or paper underneath here and get under here with the spray paint and paint the welds and the steel that I added so that we don't get rusting problems. So I just got done pulling the trailer out of here after doing all of the welding, and I painted it out. I used what did I use? Well, you can see a can of it sitting over there on the ground. I bought 4 cans of this Rust-Oleum flat protective enamel. Superior coverage and durability. Turns out I only needed 1 can. I used up a whole can, but I only needed 1. So I've got these pieces of cedar in here that I'm going to go ahead and just store because I'll probably use them for something else later on similar to this. But the trailer's over here on the side of the house. I'm going to take you guys over there. Right here, all the way forward, and right here, all the way forward, I welded that 2x2 square stock steel underneath so that when you walk in here, so the wheels of the trailer are flexing, but the plywood isn't flexing anymore in those areas where I was having problems. So you can see the tire tracks from the 4-wheelers and where they line up at. So that steel prevented any more flex and any more damage to the trailer. And it's all in there now, and we should be
pretty close to wrapping up and getting ready to use this thing again. Some of the other modifications I'll do at a later point in time because I got too many other projects. But for right now, the addition of the steel structural support inside of my, I think it's an 18-foot enclosed box trailer, is done. So this is going to wrap up the current modifications to my box trailer. I appreciate it if you hit that like and subscribe button. That always helps me out, and check out some of these other links, maybe my dirt sifter build over here, and I'll probably link some tractor modifications on the other side there. So definitely hit that subscribe button, and appreciate you guys watching.